I'm so glad I did this. Can you imagine, what I would have missed if I didn't come up here just because I was scared? And I thought, what a good metaphor.
That people should get out and explore and get outside. There's really cool history, nature, and to be able to do this and see all the 4 seasons, that was really cool as well.
Yeah. Welcome to In the Parks, an Indiana State Parks podcast. I'm Allison Martin, and I'm excited to tell the stories of these amazing places in the Hoosier State. Our parks show off the best of Indiana, and it's time to go in depth to really know the stories and discover what makes each destination unique and valuable as part of Indiana. On In the Parks, you'll learn about the people, legends, and places that formed Indiana's parks in the past and who is writing the story now. Today, we're going to learn how to hike all the state parks in 1 year. The start of each year brings new resolutions and goals, but most people quit those after about 2 weeks. What can keep a person going and committed to a goal, even in the gray January days? Love. Today is Valentine's Day, and this special episode is going to feature 3 women who love the state parks. One a solo hiker, and the other 2 are part of a group of friends. These women had a goal: hike all the state parks in 1 year. And what kept them committed was their love for the parks, love for the beauty they found in the state of Indiana, and love for the friendships that developed along the way. Whether your goal is to visit all the state parks in 1 year or to hike them all in your lifetime, this episode is full of tips, ideas, favorite places, and lessons learned that will help you love your time in the parks. Let's meet our first state park hiker who reached out to me through the In the Parks Online Facebook page. When she told me about hiking 24 state parks in 2024, I knew we had to connect.
My name is Lydia Fox, and I am in Northeast Indiana. I've been in Indiana my whole life, but I can't say that I really explored our state a whole lot. It was the beginning of 2024 when I saw on the Indiana State Parks website, or their Facebook page, actually. They kind of just put out a challenge, Yeah, we have 24 Indiana State Parks, and what a cool thing to visit all 24 in 2024.
Before 2024, Lydia had only been to 7 state parks, and her home park is Obachi. Visiting all the parks had an unexpected benefit.
So I'm only about 15 minutes away from Obachi State Park. So I had gone to Obachi over the years. But even with that, I'll say that exploring the parks made me even appreciate my own park more.
Lydia had a few must-dos on her list for the year, and I think she would recommend doing something similar. Come up with a few extra items that you definitely want to do, because that may help you prioritize the parks and determine their order. Here's what was on her list.
I wanted to camp at one. I wanted to do a full moon hike. I didn't end up staying at any of the inns, but I did get to stay at a cabin, actually at Harmony at the last park. So that felt really special too. I ended up doing full moon hike toward the end at Spring Mill. And it was a super moon, a beaver moon. It was fantastic.
Aside from the activities that Lydia knew she definitely wanted to do, some of her planning was on the fly and rather spontaneous.
If I'm honest, I was very much winging it. and part of that is because, I have 5 kids and a busy life. So I was sort of out to prove that it could be done even though with all those factors.
Lydia discovered a few ways to make sure she visited all the parks, even with a full schedule. One tip she shared was that she would include her park visits with other family trips. For instance, on the way home from picking her daughter up from the airport in Chicago, they stopped at Indiana Dunes State Park. It helped to route the parks into what was already going on in life. Her next lesson was that she also didn't hold herself to having to spend a certain amount of time at each park, and she said that short visits didn't detract from the experience.
But I do feel like I got a lot out of each one, no matter how much time I got to spend there.
Another tip she shared was grouping some park visits together. Since Lydia lives in the northern part of the state, it took her about 5 hours to get to Harmony State Park. That's why she realized batching the parks was such a smart idea. And she also made park visits into long weekends with her friends.
So 3 different times I did sort of an overnight, stayed with a friend, and kind of batched them in that way to make it make a little bit more sense. Like I said, I somewhat underestimated how far some of the Southwest, especially ones, were from me.
Of course, I wanted to know, which parks did she group together?
One of my most fun times was when I did Charleston, Falls of the Ohio, and Obannon Woods. I had gone with 3 friends, and we stayed in New Albany. So we started out the weekend by going to Charleston, and then we took bikes, and we rode on that, they had that 7 miles of paved greenway And so we rode from our Airbnb to the falls of the Ohio, packed our lunch, ate a picnic lunch together as we're, looking at the skyline. Right there on the Ohio River, ducks going by. I'm like, are we just like in a movie or what? So it was just such a sweet time. So those parks, it made sense to batch those for us. O'Bannon Woods was actually on our way home then.
Other parks she did together were Turkey Run and Shades, McCormick's Creek and Shakamak, Spring Mill, Lincoln, and Harmony. And there was one very productive stretch in there too.
That weekend I did do Fort Harrison, Versailles, Whitewater Memorial, and Summit Lake. So I got 4 done that time.
While she thought most of her hiking would be in the summer when school was out, Lydia ended up hiking over half the parks from August to December. She said hiking in the fall was the best, and she especially called out one park for that season.
I would say Whitewater Memorial. We did that once in September. It was beautiful.
Once she was at a park, Lydia made sure to do some hiking, even if she didn't have a lot of time. She loved the hiking, but Lydia said she has some new goals for 2025.
I have a lot of parks that I want to go back to and explore their water challenges or their water opportunities, because there's a lot of that, and I just really focused on trails.
I'm with Lydia on that one. I got a kayak for Christmas, and I'm pretty excited to see the parks this year from a new angle. After we talked, she emailed me and said one of her biggest assists was referencing the Indiana DNR websites to learn about each park and help prioritize what she wanted to see. She also said these In the Parks podcasts had helped, which made me really happy because that's the whole point of them. Her other tip was to talk with a gate attendant and find out from them what their favorite trail was at the park.
But I just found such helpful people at each one, and I really appreciated, like I said, asking at the gate for their trail recommendations, and everybody was just more than willing to give me their tips and why they liked it and all that.
What I loved about talking with Lydia was her balance of spontaneity and winging it right alongside her research and planning. You have to hold on to your plans very loosely so you can be in the moment. Here's Lydia again.
One of the things I say when people ask me, some of my takeaways, it really has been the idea of allowing some space for, surprises. Like, it's good to plan, and I would plan, but one thing I just love was any of my wildlife encounters at Spring Mill. Yes, it was Spring Mill. We thought we heard a great horned owl, so I turned on my little app, my Merlin app that tells me what I'm hearing, and sure enough, we heard it. And so we heard it quite a bit before we saw it, but then we ended up seeing him up in this tree, and I stood there and recorded it and just was giddy as I could be. And yeah, that's not something you can plan, and it was so beautiful. I also came upon an otter at Whitewater Memorial Park, and it was so cute. But he was very playful, and so he would dive and he would come back up, and he had a bluegill in his mouth, and it's like he was showing it off to me like he was a really just prideful fisherman, and it was so cute. And these are things that you can't plan.
Lydia made a similar connection to another favorite activity, climbing the fire towers.
I really enjoyed the fire towers. Climbing them, you really do get such a beautiful view of the park, and you can see for miles. I mean, it's really a fun thing. And so when we did Obachi, I took my 11-year-old with me, and she was very scared to go up, which she was being silly because I know she's done it before, but she was acting like she was so nervous. So it took us a while. But once we got to the top, she said, I'm so glad I did this. Can you imagine, what I would have missed if I didn't come up here just because I was scared? And I thought, what a good metaphor, for life. But I felt that way different times with visiting the parks, just leaving room for some surprise and for things to just go as they're going to go.
I loved that. After hiking the 24 state parks, I asked Lydia if she had a favorite one, and like me, she kind of hemmed and hawed and never committed to an answer. What it ultimately came down to was the people who came along with her on the hikes. The enjoyment of the parks was incredible on her own, but it was made richer when she experienced the parks with friends and they formed memories together. Which leads me to our next group to hear from. I don't remember how I discovered the Mosaic Women, but I've been wanting to hear their story ever since I saw that these 5 women were hiking all the state parks and the state recreation areas, visiting 36 properties. Let's hear from 2 of the 5 women who call themselves the Mosaic Indiana State Park Trailblazers.
My name is Nikki Holmes, and probably started because for years I have begged Lori to hike with me all the state parks in Indiana.
Yeah, and then I had a girlfriend that she and her husband hiked a lot, and we were out golfing one day, and you know what, we need to golf more next year. And I said, well, I have a friend, Nikki, who wants to do every state park, and she said, that would be amazing. And I said, I think so too. So the 5 of us, we started first part of January 2023 and set out to do as much as we could, and saw a lot of Indiana.
And who are the 5 women that are in your group?
I'm Lori Danielson, and then we have Natalie Stadler. She's been doing our social media. And then we have Kumi McGuire, and we have Tracy Taylor.
And really, Kumi is the professional hiker of our group. I mean, she is legitimate compared to the rest of us.
Yes. Yes. She's been all over the country. She and her husband would hike. She'll go now on her own. She'll go, 70 miles in a week. So we have all calibers we're all at different stages in our hiking affinity, I think.
Absolutely.
As we did this, we got really excited and ambitious for our goal and how are we going to attack this. And then we're like, my background is marketing. I'm like, well, we got to have a name. So that as we're hiking, we're throwing out names and things are coming to us. And one day I thought, you know what, we are all 5 of us have very different backgrounds. Not everybody knew each other that well when we started down this path. And I said, mosaic, we're very different places and when you bring us together, and it's a beautiful thing. And then, so we're the Mosaic Indiana State Parks Trailblazers.
Like Lydia, who had Obachi as her home park, 4 of the Mosaic women live near Turkey Run and Shades.
Being from Terre Haute, we're really lucky to have some really great parks, even just right here in our backyard. But there's lovely ones all across the state.
The Mosaic women had to be very strategic with their park visits. With 36 properties and 5 schedules, it took a lot of forethought.
Well, we do love to plan. And, we just felt like the map pretty much laid out certain areas. If we were going to drive 3 hours, let's make sure we can, hit everything that's in that spot and not have to travel back again. Yeah, we definitely had a strategy.
Their strategy also included batching parks together. Here's how they laid out some visits.
I mean, I definitely think like the southeastern part of the state really calls for those all being done together, like Charlestown and Clifty Falls and Falls of the Ohio and Versailles, like those all just really go together well. And again, depending on where you're starting from, it's just a natural, when we made our trip to Pokagon, which was an exciting destination for us, we knew just to kind of mark off all the ones that we kind of hit along the way there. And, that worked out well for us. So,
yeah, we got 7 in that weekend.
Yeah.
In one weekend?
Yeah. We got 4, I think, on the first day. And then on the way back, we were going to get 3.
7 parks in one weekend is crazy. The women did something else fun that I wish I had done when I started this podcasting adventure.
We tracked our mileage, so we probably hiked just short of 80 miles total in the 36 parks. As I was refreshing our memory, we were out on 13 hiking adventures for the whole year. That's what some were 2 days and overnight, some were just days, but that's what it took. And then we ended up at Brown County for our final hike, which many of us in this neck of the woods have been there.
But we thought that was appropriate to end our year there.
Yeah.
Much like Lydia, the group wasn't able to spend as much time in each park as they wanted to. Their goal was to visit them all and hike as much as time allowed in order to get a feel for each place.
What we didn't do was spend a lot of time. We would hike maybe 4 miles in a park, and there was one park where I think we hiked a half a mile.
Yeah.
So it was a check the box,
yeah.
And so which helped inform the next year of 2024, so we can go back and spend more time last year and then this year on our favorite ones and really be more intentional and spend time there and explore a little bit more.
So what are some of the parks they want to revisit?
Everybody said Mounds. We really enjoyed when we went to Mounds, and we just really enjoyed the history and the river, and we really enjoyed that one a lot.
And great hiking trails. They were wide trails that were well maintained. So again, if you had somebody who had difficulty maneuvering maybe over rugged terrain, they offer some good trails for those people too.
Once we started talking, Nikki and Lori began reminiscing about all their other favorites, like Pokagon, which I'll have an episode about in the coming weeks.
We did actually think we would do Pokagon in the summer, but we ended up going there in February.
Yeah, once we found out we could do the toboggan.
We had to do the toboggan.
Yeah. And that was kind of our first time learning about the Civilian Conservation Corps and what they've done for what Indiana has to offer as far as state parks, and and then realizing that that was designed for them to have an outlet and something fun for those employees to be doing while they're building a park. So yeah, it was really cool.
They also enjoyed Paintown State Recreation Area at Monroe Lake.
We enjoyed Paintown. That was a nice surprise. That would be a place where I'd want to go and stay overnight in one of the cabins.
Yeah.
Around just a real clean and comfortable hike that we had there.
And like me, they loved hiking through Rose Island at Charlestown State Park, which my last episode covered.
Rose Island, we should have mentioned that one. That was cool.
Just amazing.
Beautiful. And it was like eerie because we went early in the morning.
It was foggy. Yeah, it was great.
It was really cool. Yeah.
And then, like the hand crank to listen to the different stories, at each spot, and then marveling at the different flood stages over the years, and then to think what was there to have a dance floor.
I know.
in a hotel,
I just look at it and envision that those people used to go. It was a dance hall.
Yeah.
You could just envision what they were wearing, and back in the day, it just.
There are a few state recreation areas I've been intrigued by, but don't really feel like I belong there, so to speak, like with mountain biking trails or at the off-roading parks. But the women said even those places are worth visiting.
Yes, Redbird is.
Redbird.
And again, even though we didn't care about that, to see the mounds that they go up in these Jeeps, it's something you would never see in day-to-day life. So again, go to it,
Go experience it, yeah.
I asked Nikki and Lori to share their tips for how to hike all the parks and recreation areas in 1 year.
You have to have a plan, and you really have to, you got to commit. We committed and we went.
And there's just so many different things. I mean, I guess that's the thing. You just don't know what you're going to see till you get there. So my thought is don't count something out thinking you won't like it, because the most obscure ones, you might find a Bob Ross statue inside of a little tree.
Yeah. Have you seen that? In Prophetstown on the trail, you go up to a tree, and there's a little door cut into the tree, and you open it up, and Bob Ross is sitting in there.
Like a Chia Pet Bob Ross. And then people have left little stones and coins and things as homage to him. I mean, it's just, who would ever think that's what you'd come across?
Has anyone else come across this? I'm really disappointed. I never saw the Bob Ross tree, but now I have another reason to go back to Prophetstown. The Mosaic Trailblazers gave me another tip. If you're going to multiple parks in one day, save your receipt from the first park because you can use it to enter another state park later in the day. And be sure to stop in the nature center at each park.
Some of the nature centers where they have preserved, or they have, some of them had some live turtles and snakes and things. Mm-hmm. Again, another great opportunity for families to get their kids to, get a chance to see things that they're not going to see any other time.
Overall, the women agreed that spending time in the parks is valuable no matter what.
It's just allowed us to learn so much about Indiana, and that people should get out and explore and get outside. There's really cool history, nature, and to be able to do this and see all the 4 seasons, that was really cool as well.
Yeah.
After getting to all the parks, what did the next year hold for Mosaic? Fire towers. Like Lydia, they hiked the Obachi Fire Tower and fell in love with climbing them. It's taken them beyond the state park's borders to climb as many as they can in the state.
We started adding then in 2024 the fire towers. So we've done maybe 10 of the 13.
We've done 10 of the 13 that still exist. And so that got us into some state forests in Indiana, which some are close to some of the state parks, but even more massive than what the state parks are. But again, if there's a fire tower available, my tip is to climb it. Gosh, what a spectacular view.
Oh,
any time of year, but boy, in the fall, if you can hike an Indiana fire tower, that's a great day.
Yeah.
I'm excited for a future episode about Indiana's fire towers because I agree, they're really cool. Once they finished hiking all the properties, the women had a little celebration, which launched their next adventure.
So then we had our kind of a Christmas gathering, and we all put the name of a state that has a national park in a hat. We didn't share what we were putting in there, and we said, whatever we draw out, we're going to go to this state and hike a national park, right? And we're like, yep. So we pulled out Alaska. So
our very first go, it was Alaska.
So we went to July last year of 2024, and it was amazing.
Which national park did you go to?
We did Denali, and then
we did Kenai Forge also.
So we got a couple in.
Yeah.
I took a train up so we could see Denali. We stayed on the southern end, flew into Anchorage, and then went south of there. Seward and went hiking, and then we went up to Talkeetna, took a train, and then we've got everybody on board to get onto a little plane that fits like 10 people, and we took a plane and landed on top of Denali on the most clear, beautiful blue sky day that they never have.
Land on a glacier and walk around and make snowballs and yeah.
It was amazing. It was so the two that typically don't climb the fire towers were not very excited about the small plane. But
I would have been terrified.
it was great.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
What an adventure. That is really, really cool. After the epic Alaska trip, the Mosaic women repeated the game, but kept it with states that are in driving distance. Their next stop is the Smoky Mountains in North Carolina, and they would love any input people have for their visit.
We would welcome anybody who wants to visit our social media and give us pointers on going to Smoky Mountains. We think we're going to go probably through Asheville, and looks like a pretty centralized place for us to kind of come and go from that area. But if anybody has any recommendations, we would love their input.
If you want to follow along with their adventures or have ideas for a Smoky Mountains trip, they're on Instagram at mosaic_trailblazers. I'll have a link in the show notes too. Whether you've got kids at home or are working full-time, want to hike alone or with a group, these women prove there's always time to visit more parks. And it's not too late to start a challenge for this year. The 24 state parks are waiting, and if you're a little more ambitious, add on the state recreation areas too. Or explore the 15 state forests. Or maybe even tackle Indiana's 58-mile-long Knobstone Trail. There's always something exciting to find.
Indiana's just a beautiful state.
Yeah.
And people need to get out of what you see every day and explore. Put your phones down and get out and breathe some fresh air and get your body moving and enjoy the great state.
This year is the perfect opportunity to fall in love with Indiana by spending time in the parks. A big thank you to Lydia Fox, Nikki Holmes, and Lori Danielson for sharing about their adventures with me. Please share this podcast with your friends and give it a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. You can follow along on Instagram and Facebook at In the Parks Online. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in the parks.